have you said, my dad taught me this, or my mom taught me this? The influence is still there. It's still going on through the generation. The example of their influence will never end in our lives. And our influence will never end in our children's lives. That's the reason why the transfer of truth and the modeling of God's love is so important today. In everything, a child is molded by the beliefs, by what we say and what we do. And it stays with them wherever they go. Their consistency of character and their personal conduct and their training and teaching and the exemplary manner of their life and their spiritual leadership all comes from the generations that's been passed down from parents to parents. See, your influence should be always towards God to your children. 3 John 14:1 says, I have no greater joy than to hear my children are walking in the truth. So here's my point this morning as we get into this message. We are always influencing someone. No matter if we're a parent or not, we are always influencing someone. And our influence can either be for good or it can be for bad. See, there's power in the influence that we have. And we will see that in our passage that's coming up here this morning. Let me give you a little background. Paul and Silas had just come from Lydia's house, and they had just shared the gospel with Lydia, and her and her household came to the Lord. And so now they've left Lydia, and they're going to worship. Paul and Silas are walking to worship. And this lady that is a fortune teller starts following them. And she starts hollering out, these guys are the servants of the Most High God. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're walking down the road going to worship and somebody's walking behind you and say, these guys are the servants of the Most High God, and they kept saying it over and over and over, it kind of gets to you after a while, wouldn't it? Well, that's what happened to Paul and Silas. It finally got to him, and Paul turned around and cast a demon out of this lady. Well, at that point in time, she lost all her ability to fortune tell. And she had a guy that was handling her that was making good money off of her fortune telling, because they would always pay the fortune teller. And the guy got mad at Paul and Silas, and he went to the magistrate. And he had them thrown into jail. That's kind of neat, isn't it? Here he did something good by casting a demon out of this lady, and they end up in jail. Not only jail, but the innermost jail, which is the worst place that you could be. Because everything runs downhill in the jail back then. And that was the worst place that they could be. Not only were they in jail, it was at midnight, the darkest time of the night. And guess what they were doing? They were singing praises to the Lord. Now I want to ask you a question. When was the last time that you were in a dark place and you started singing praises to the Lord? That's not usually what we do, is it? Usually we start complaining about our situation, or we start thinking about why we're in this situation. But they were worshiping the Lord in the very darkest and the very bleakest situation that could happen. And God did something great. He caused an earthquake to happen. And the chains fell off, and their stocks opened up off their legs. And guess what? The jailer got real upset. Because they knew if they lost a prisoner, it cost them their life. And the jailer started to kill himself. And this group of people, Paul and Silas, hollered at him, "Don't kill yourself, we're still here." Now wait a minute. God just opened the cell door, took the chains off of them, and they're still in jail. They didn't leave. Isn't that interesting? And the story goes on, and they get a chance to witness to this jailer because of what transpired. But the key point here is this. Not only did the jailer come to the Lord, but his whole household comes to the Lord. I want to share something with you tonight, or today. I need to tell you, you need to guard your influence with everything that you got. Because your influence is so important. Listen to what verse 16 says. It says, "Once when we were going to the place of prayer, we were met by the slave girl and had a spirit by which she predicted the future. And she earned a great deal of money for her owner by fortune telling." I want you to listen to me real close here for just the next few minutes. This subject is so important. I believe it's so important that we need to take note of this.